What's up guys, OJ here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about 10 big RPGs that still have a shot at coming to the Nintendo Switch. So these are games that a lot of you guys have asked me about and games that I think still have a shot, and we'll kind of detail and discuss them one by one. But before we get into anything, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting off at number 10, Terranigma HD 2D. This is a Super Nintendo game that, interestingly enough, came to Europe, so it's in English, and it's also in Japan, but it was never officially localized in the US. So we never got it, which is very weird for a game that's already translated. It's happened a few times before, but I do feel that Terranigma could be coming, and it could be from the Team Asano team, because we're getting Live Alive this year in 2022, and nobody would have thought that game would have ever came over. It was pretty much long forgotten. Seiken Densetsu 3, not from Team Asano, but once again from Square Enix, brought over a couple years ago as well. So I think that Terranigma HD 2D will be the next Team Asano HD 2D remake of an older game, and we could maybe see it sometime soon on the Nintendo Switch. Number 9, Xenogears from the PS1. Now, Xenogears is very interesting. It's a Square Enix owned IP. People hear the Xeno name in there and they automatically think Monolith Soft and Nintendo, but that is not the case when it comes to Xenogears. However, I still feel that Xenogears has a shot to be ported over to Nintendo Switch as part of something that they are doing, just because Xenoblade has been doing so well, and I know that Square Enix is going to continue bringing over the classic games to the Nintendo Switch. So I do want to see what they're going to be up to. They even talked about it more in their financial reports, saying like, hey, we're going to continue with the classic games and also digging into making different styles of games. So it's not like they're going anywhere. So I do feel that Xenogears has a shot at coming back on the Nintendo Switch. Number 8, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. So the reason why I think Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door from the GameCube has a shot at being on the Nintendo Switch sometime soon is because we all know, or at least if you didn't know, the reason why they stopped doing the traditional RPGs when it comes to Paper Mario is because of the other series, the Mario and Luigi series, and they said that it was a little bit of overlap or the same thing. Now that Alpha Dream is done, now that the Nintendo Switch is kind of here, and we don't necessarily have a replacement for turn-based Mario outside of what Ubisoft is doing with Mario plus Rabbids, the Sparks of Hope game, Nintendo might see that as a replacement for Mario RPG or that style, but I don't quite think it is. Plus, there has been some rumors and some things that have been put out there, even from Nintendo, saying, hey, if you want to see it, people can talk about it. So I do think that Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door has a shot at coming back on the Nintendo Switch, and I would really like that as well if we got a remastered version of the game. And I think that after playing Paper Mario Color Splash and Paper Mario Sticker Star and Paper Mario The Origami King, these aren't like the worst games in the world, but I think all of us are ready to get back to the classic Paper Mario formula. So maybe Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door gets a remaster sometime soon on the Nintendo Switch. Number 7, The Last Story, Nintendo Wii. So I think that The Last Story is once again in a very interesting position. It was a game that was made by Mistwalker, the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. It was him and his team before they were just pretty much cast out by the industry after a number of games necessarily didn't do as well as they would have thought with Microsoft, Blue Dragon, and also Lost Odyssey. However, The Last Story was actually a success on the Nintendo Wii. At the time, XE did say that it was their most successful game that they had been able to bring over. So I still feel that there is an audience. There still is a market for The Last Story. Now, I'll admit there has been no word on if this game could come over at some point or anything. Nintendo does have the publishing rights in Japan, but here in the US, I think Xseed picked it up, or Marvelous or something like that. So it just wasn't able to come through with Nintendo at that time, just because Nintendo was being ridiculous with RPGs. I mean, we barely got Xenoblade, and only because Nintendo of Europe decided to localize it there. That's the only reason why. So I feel that maybe at some point somebody looks back at it and says, hey, this is actually a quality game, and it can come over to Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch platform in the future, just like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition eventually got remastered and was brought over to Nintendo Switch. I think The Last Story deserves that. I think Sakaguchi deserves that. And I feel that if this game did get a quality remaster on Switch, it would do extremely well. Number 6, Tales of Symphonia from the GameCube. Now, this has been something that I've seen people request since before the Nintendo Switch was even launched. People were saying, can we please get Tales of Symphonia, which many people feel is the best Tales game or one of the best Tales games out there. So I would personally love to see Tales of Symphonia and also Dawn of the New World. Both of those games come over from the GameCube and the Wii. I think a double pack would be great. We saw Tales of Vesperia, that game, get remastered on the Nintendo Switch or ported over from the Xbox 360, and it did really well across the board. So it would be great to see Tales of Symphonia come over as well. Lloyd Irving is a fan favorite, and I feel that people do finally remember Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube. And before Tales of Arise came out, Tales of Symphonia was actually the best-selling Tales game of all time. So there's definitely some precedent there with Nintendo fans. It was a player's choice game. People loved it on the GameCube back in the day. I remember I bought it and I was like, yo, this game is freaking amazing. I also bought the Wii version as well, or at least the follow-up or the sequel, one on the Wii too. So let's see if Tales of Symphonia, at least at some point, I think that Bandai Namco at some point has to bring this game over to Nintendo Switch. So I think it could be announced sometime soon. Number 5, Skies of Arcadia Legends on the Nintendo GameCube to the Nintendo Switch, and I can spend 10 minutes plus just talking about this game without even thinking. That's how much I love Skies of Arcadia, and the Legends version is even better. It's an enhanced port from the Dreamcast version of the game. So I think that since Skies has been gone for quite some time, the only glimmer of hope that I've seen for this is Sega actually doubling down again and saying, hey, we are going to be going back and looking at old school franchises, looking at stuff and bringing it over. Now, they've done a little bit. We've gotten some Shin Megami Tensei 3 action. We've gotten a few other older games, but they are definitely lacking a bit on some of these remasters or bringing them over. I would bet that Skies of Arcadia is probably on the top of the list for most of the old school GameCube fans and just RPG fans in general. There's been no real re-releases of this game, even digitally on a storefront. You can't get it like on the Nintendo Wii U or on the Wii or on the Switch. Obviously you can't, and I don't understand why there hasn't been. I really don't understand why. I think that it should come back in some way, shape, or form. I think a remaster would be ideal for this game, just a light remaster of the game. It is a pretty big GameCube game, so you also have to kind of give it that it wouldn't just be a snap your fingers, then all of a sudden it's there and it's ready to go. But at the same time, I still feel that it's possible based off of what Sega has been saying about their classic catalog and bringing back some of those classic games. And I think that this would be a great game on the Nintendo Switch at some point, and maybe something gets announced at an upcoming Nintendo Direct or sometime this year, but we're gonna have to wait and see on it. Number 4, Baten Kaitos from the Nintendo GameCube. I want to talk about this because there's two games. There is a prequel, The Origins, then there is the regular game that came out first with Baten Kaitos, and I think that both games are actually really good and unique. This is also another Monolith Soft title. This game was when Monolith Soft was working independently with Bandai Namco. So they had split off from Square Enix and they were with Bandai Namco making these games exclusively for the GameCube. One of them was a mid-ish type of GameCube game, the other one was a very late GameCube game, and if both of them came over, that would be great because you would be treated to some of the best card-based RPG action out there. You've got the full 3D models, full story, full everything. Voice acting isn't the best, but it is what it is there. And then you also have the cards and the decks, and you can customize it, you can strategize, and there's tons of depth. I mean, it really is good, but it just really never had a chance to really spread its wings because of the GameCube and the short lifespan and the RPGs just not being as big of an emphasis on that system. However, on the Nintendo Switch, it can get a lot of new life, and I feel that it would do well on that platform if it was given another shot. But that's something that Nintendo, Bandai Namco, and of course Monolith Soft have to all come together, or at least Nintendo and Bandai Namco, to find a port studio to get those games over. I think it would be worth it, but who knows? I do think that it could happen. We did get some trademarks recently, multiple times, for Baten Kaitos, so maybe something happens coming up soon. But what are your thoughts on Baten Kaitos? Would you like to see it come back? Let me know in the comment section. Number 3, Xenosaga from the PS2. Now, I will admit, guys, this one has been examined from Bandai Namco, and they said, look, it's not profitable. It's been seen to be not profitable. However, I do think that, once again, Xenoblade is the key here, and I feel that it depends. It depends, because I do think that Xenoblade is going to do well, and I think that that could spark a bit more interest in Xenosaga, just like we talked about with Xenogears. I don't understand why at this point Xenosaga hasn't been re-released in a HD form. Those games really need it. Now, I do understand it would be expensive, and those games didn't sell the best or anything like that, especially for the massive install base of the PlayStation 2. However, I don't think it was the games per se. I think it was just the time period and the style of the game and the developer. I think at this point, if you spent that money and made those on the Nintendo Switch in a triple pack, Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3, or even if you wanted to go more in depth and just go with Xenosaga first and kind of get a really good remaster of that and see how it goes, I think that both of those would be successful at this point with the install base, with Xenoblade rolling, and with people knowing about these games and been wanting these games. I think that they could do a lot better in today's atmosphere than how it did back then. So, what do you guys think? Is Xenosaga from the PlayStation 2 a possibility on Nintendo Switch? I think it is, but it might take a bit more time. Number 2, Chrono Trigger from the Super Nintendo. Now, we've discussed Chrono Trigger and how I think that it will be coming over to modern platforms in addition to the Nintendo Switch sometime soon, because there was a huge update via Steam, the first update in multiple years, out of nowhere, adding a bunch of features that you would see in what? A remaster, a re-release, some type of marketing that they're going to do for the game, a new title, whatever the case is. That just doesn't come out of nowhere. I mean, it's very odd for that to happen. So I do feel with that happening with Steam, I think that they were also working on some updates and some new stuff for potential console ports of it. And to be honest, Chrono Trigger needs it. It really does need it, because it really hasn't been on anything new recently, and there's no reason for it not to be on the Nintendo Switch. Now, they're not going to put it on the Nintendo Switch Online, especially with those, the price of that. They're probably not going to get much for it. They can make way more money if they just released it in their own remaster or HD 2D or something. Now, I don't know how it will be remastered. I just know that it's going to come to Nintendo Switch at some point, because it has to, because Square Enix would be crazy for it not to happen. Out of all the games on this list, I am most sure that hasn't been confirmed at this point that Chrono Trigger is coming to Nintendo Switch at some point. I just think that it is. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that the next Nintendo Direct could finally be that time period, or maybe even the fall Nintendo Direct that we usually get around September or so. But we're going to have to wait and see on that one as well. What do you guys think about Chrono Trigger from the Super Nintendo potentially coming over? Let me know in the comment section below. I mean, heck, we got Chrono Cross recently. Why not go ahead and finish the deed, Square Enix? And number 1, Xenoblade Chronicles X from the Nintendo Wii U. Back in 2015 when this game released, I can't believe that it's already been 7 years. It felt like it wasn't too long ago that we were all getting hyped to play Xenoblade Chronicles X on the failing Nintendo Wii U, but that didn't deter all of us from enjoying the game, from playing it. Heck, I'm playing it again right now for another big video that'll probably be done in like a month or so. I want to put a number of hours into it and just reminisce on how incredible that Xenoblade Chronicles X is in a completely different way than the other Xenoblade games. It's a very peculiar and very interesting and very unique game that I really haven't experienced anything else quite like it. Now, obviously, the Xenoblade games are kind of like it, but Xenoblade X has this different aura, this different feel, this different type. I mean, there's some things that I don't like so much, but there's so many things that I do like. But how do we know that this game could be coming over? What's going on with it? Well, I personally feel that they do want to complete the Xenoblade games on modern systems. They've pretty much put every other big or major Wii U game on the Nintendo Switch. There's barely any left, and the ones that are left over aren't the highest of quality. Stuff like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Paper Mario Color Splash, it's stuff like that. Now, there are still some good games that haven't came over yet, but from a third-party standpoint, the good games, from a first-party standpoint, most of those are on the Nintendo Switch, and the only real big major game left is Xenoblade Chronicles X. I just don't know when that's going to happen, because we have Xenoblade 3 and that's going to be the focus for the next year. I think that there's going to be DLC and extra stuff for the game, so I think that that's going to be the focus for the next year, and I feel that potentially after that we get Xenoblade Chronicles X on Nintendo Switch or on a next-gen successor or something like that for Nintendo. But I do feel that it is going to come, and I feel that it could come with a future connected or Torna type of thing bundled with it. I would probably say more like Future Connected, since you got that once you bought the definitive edition of the game. So maybe we get a Xenoblade Chronicles X definitive edition and it comes with an extra saga that helps clear up what happened at the end of the game. But I'm excited because I know that there's just going to be some shockers out there. All right, guys, what did you think about the list? Remember to put your 10 games or some titles, if I missed something, in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.